Welcome to World Crisis Radio. This is your host, Webster Tarpley, here in Washington, D.C. And now, with the end of summer, the pace of world events, the unfolding of this unprecedented crisis, this is all accelerating at the present time. Now, let's start with the great task of organizing an anti-war left opposition against Obama. This is indispensable. If it's only right-wing teabaggers hogging all the media attention, and indeed these loudmouth Republican operatives that have infiltrated the teabag parties as well as the town halls, this will not lead to an adequate result. It's necessary for others, anti-war forces in particular, to be heard, and it would be desirable for the anti-war forces to come forward with an actual New Deal economic program to counter the Austrian school nonsense that often emerges in these town halls, thanks to the fact that the crowds are seated with Republican operatives. It would also be necessary to counter the Malthusianism of the Obama administration, their obsessive commitment to zero growth, and in particular, one of our continuing concerns to block the Waxman-Markey cap-and-trade, cap-and-tax carbon monstrosity, which is still sitting in the Congress. And we'll get to economics in just a minute. But organizing in first place, Cindy Sheehan has had a very successful week on Martha's Vineyard. This was the only visible protest going on there, and Cindy Sheehan, I think, has saved the honor and indeed the existence of the anti-war movement by going there. You remember 4 years ago, Cindy Sheehan had gone to Crawford, Texas, to protest Mad Dog Bush the Younger, who was then in his rented ranch there, not the ranch he intended to keep, but a kind of a ranch that he had for cinematographic purposes. It was a prop. So she went to Crawford, Texas, and protested him, and by the end of the summer, she had 1,700 candlelight vigils with several 100,000 people. A huge movement, much bigger than anything we've seen this year in terms of sheer numbers. Now, this time she is back and essentially has created this Camp Casey in honor of her son who lost his life in Iraq in this illegal and unconstitutional war, and she has now been able to make the transition to putting Obama in the same class with Bush, which is where he belongs. Obama, of course, committed running as the most right-wing, the most warmonger candidate in the entire Democratic field. Indeed, in some ways, Obama was the biggest warmonger on the political scene, because when Obama demanded in that famous Democratic candidates debate in July 2007, Soldier Field, Chicago, Obama demanded the unilateral bombing of Pakistan. It was unbelievable. Without regard to the Pakistan government, kill Pakistanis on site, on their own territory, without even notifying their government. You'll remember Hillary Clinton said, no, it's too much. McCain said, no, it's too much. And indeed, Mad Dog Bush the Younger himself said, no, I do everything with my friend Musharraf. And, of course, then through the power shift, the behind-the-scenes creeping coup by the head creep Brzezinski, Nye, Huntington, the late Huntington now, and others, they were able to implement the policy even though Bush and Cheney were still in the White House. So Iran was not bombed, but Pakistan was. And that's worse, dear friends, Pakistan being twice as big with real nuclear weapons and real intermediate-range ballistic missiles, none of which Iran has, according to anybody's calculation. So Cindy Sheehan putting the focus on Obama, one of her releases. The first day Obama got there, he went out on the golf links, cavorting with his rich, elitist Wall Street friends. In particular, one guy called Robert Wolf, who was part of Obama's foursome. Robert Wolf is the head of the Union Bank of Switzerland Investment Bank. In other words, a hedge fund run by Union Bank of Switzerland, one of the most bankrupt institutions in the world. There's a whole bailout engineered by the Swiss government to bail out the rotten derivatives of UBS, and not just of the Swiss government, because you, dear American taxpayers, have coughed up $5 billion with a B for the survival of Union Bank of Switzerland, UBS, and this hedge fund, which is undoubtedly one of the ones that makes the big losses. This was done under the AIG bailout, as you'll recall. You'll remember that the Federal Reserve, through Maiden Lane 1, Maiden Lane 2, and other vehicles, convoyed $180 billion of public funds into the bankrupt insurance company, including medical insurance, by the way, health insurance, AIG, and along with 12 or 13 billion that went to Deutsche Bank, 12 or 13 billion that went to Societe Generale, 5 or 6 billion to Barclays Bank of Britain. Some money also went to one of the Dutch banks. Union Bank of Switzerland, UBS, got $5 billion of U.S. taxpayer money. And now Obama, rather than hiding that, as you think he would, flaunts it. He cavorts out on the golf links of Martha's Vineyard with the rich elitist Robert Wolf of Union Bank of Switzerland Investment Division, in effect, a hedge fund hyena and Wall Street lamprey. Cindy Sheehan's comment to this was, while Obama was playing golf with his rich friends, 4 GIs died in Afghanistan. And this puts it, I think, the entire tragedy, the horror of the Obama regime in a nutshell. Total Wall Street control, total contempt for the fate of the U.S. population, especially the working people that Obama hates. There's no way around it. He hates them, white and black, blue collar, any kind of blue collar. He hates them because they are a threat to his notions of status and the social order. So Cindy Sheehan, hard at work. There's a yacht that has been put at her service by a very fine person who is a supporter. It's a 106-foot custom sloop. It's the kind of thing, it's about the size of one of the J-boats that used to compete in the America's Cup back in the 1920s and 30s. You remember Sir Thomas Lipton had a J-boat, and some others came out with these huge boats, right? These are boats that have to be, that are able to sail across the Atlantic on their own bottoms, as it was once said. So the peace sloop, Camp Casey afloat, SS Camp Casey, is now a focus for the meeting. She's had a very successful press conference attended by a number of television networks. White House press corps came over, given the absolute dearth of news. And on Saturday, that is to say Saturday the 29th of August, there's an all-day peace camp going on at Martha's Vineyard. This is a place called Ocean Park, Oak Bluffs on the name of the town on Martha's Vineyard. That's all day Saturday. And then 8 p.m., some people may hear this, if you're in Boston at 6 p.m. and you hear this on Saturday the 29th, then get in your car and go to the Vineyard, Catherine Cornell Theater in Vineyard Haven. There's a peace event with Cindy Sheehan speaking at 8 p.m. Obama saw the protest. This is very important. Think of the subjective impact on Bush of the people across the street in Lafayette Park and the White House at various times. But think now that Obama needs that left cover. Bush, in some ways, could ignore the peace demonstrators. In this case, the Obama motorcade went by Camp Casey. He saw the 20-foot orange sign, and he saw it, Michelle saw it, the kids might have seen it. So there is no vacation for body bags. We'll be back in a minute.